welcome to your happy hour yin class. This is a wood element practice, and it'll be a 75-minute yin focused practice on wood element. And really there are two objectives that I'll bring forth for this practice in particular. Number one is the flushing of the wood channels, so the liver and the gallbladder meridians. And I'll be speaking to the placement in the anatomical body as well as the purpose in the physiological body of the liver and the gallbladder channels throughout the practice. So I'll be intermingling little nuggets of information of both of the yin and yang channels of wood element throughout the practice while we take some shapes together. And so that's the first objective, is the flushing or the cleansing, the clearing out of those wood element lines in the body. And the second objective is the balance of overall all yin yang energy in the body. And so we'll be working with prana, the upper winds of the body, that's said to be housed in, from many wisdom traditions, housed in the heart. And prana is related to the inhalation. And we'll be mixing the chi with the lower body winds of apana, which is the yin quality of our overall energy trajectory. And so the apana, or the lower winds held in the root and in hara at low belly, is related to the exhalation. And so when we work in a wood element practice to balance yin and yang energies, we might utilize the foundation of each pose to intermingle the chi. And the foundational life of each pose is the breath. So we'll be using the prana inhalation, the yang quality of our vibrational capacities, and we'll be drawing that down. And the reverse, to keep the circuitry drawing robustly, we'll be using apana, the winds of the low body, on an exhalation and drawing that up. So it actually reverses the traditional cueing of the breathing body. And in doing so, in reversing that cycle, we're actually intermingling, like stirring the pot of the chi body. So sending inhalations down and exhalations up. So again, for those of you just coming in, welcome. We'll be balancing as a primary objective the yin and yang qualities, and also working directly with the wood element to highlight and then flush the flow of prana through the liver and the gallbladder meridians. And I'll be talking you through the functionality of each of those channels throughout the practice. So let's start on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees wide. And placing your hands on the low belly center. taking the first few beats as you enter the practice to arrive. And as you draw inwards, becoming aware of the radiance of the inner life. So the liver line will be working the yin channel of the wood element. The liver meridian starts inside the big toe, crosses the top of the foot, passes in front of the inside ankle, and all the way up the inner aspect of the leg. So it continues upward as it passes the knee and along inner thigh to the groin and the pubifemoral ligament, the region where pelvis meets thigh. And it's right there that it enters the torso and penetrates liver and gallbladder itself, up the ribs, the throat, and actually circles around the cheeks and nose and enters into the eye. So it's said that health of liver is reflected in the eyes. The yang channel lives on the outside of the body. So while the yin channels draw along the inner line towards the spine and midline, the yang channels run along outer aspects. So starting at the eye, the gallbladder meridian descends to the outer ear, outside of neck and shoulder, side bodies, outer rib cage, the stabilizer muscles along the side abdominals, most specifically the quadratus laborum outside of spinal extensors. And then the outer hip, so glutes and piriformis, down side of leg, and gallbladder channel ends in the fourth toe. So flushing those lines, and again, also balancing the yin and yang qi, we'll begin as we do in all disciplines of yoga asana, whether it's yin or yang or otherwise, by refining the breath body. The length of the breath, as well as the depth and direction. So the upper winds of prana housed in the heart, related to the inhale, we'll take a breath in and we'll send that breath down from the breastbone to the mula, pelvic floor, mula meaning root. And the exhale will reverse that, so the apana, drawing the exhale from perineum, pelvic floor, back up to the soft tissue behind the sternum. And 3 more times like that, inhaling from heart down through the hara at low belly to mula, root. And exhaling, drawing breath up from the very basin of the pelvis into the heart. And twice more like that, adding some breath retention. So holding, gathering chi in the mula at the top of the inhalation. That's when the chi force is most potent during the retention of the breath. And the exhalation, same thing, sending that all the way up to heart and collecting the potency of the pranic body, gathering it at the bottom of the exhalation as you arrive in the heart. Beautiful. We'll release that breath and keep the left leg as it is. But we'll move on into assessing the liver line on the right side body by way of Ardha Ananda Balasana, so half happy baby. The right knee will come to the outside of the right ribs. And either by grip of the inner arch or the outside of the right foot as you draw the sole of the foot to the sky, we'll find a lengthening of the inner right thigh bone as we press the right knee down towards the ground, just near the right shoulder. And the left hand might stay at the hara center or draw down to the inner left thigh as you keep the left leg in that flexion of half or Ardha Baddha Konasana. So the left thigh is in external rotation. The right leg is drawing in towards the midline and pressing down. So a conscious depression of the whole right thigh bone. From here, we'll draw the left leg long onto the floor, left heel on the ground. Take your left hand and tee it out, so let it go straight out from the height of the shoulder, elbow straightened, palm of the hand on the ground. And pressing the sole of the foot down on the right side, staying in knee flexion, half happy baby, or some of you might straighten that right leg out into a T as you lengthen through the right heel. So feeling that line from the middle of perineum, pelvic floor, all the way through the right heel. And now encouraging a bit of an external rotation in that right thigh. So you'll spin the right pinky toe up towards the sky and then press out through the heel. Take an in-breath, stretching through right side of that liver meridian. And then exhale, make your way into a supine twist with that right leg straightened. Both hands now tee out wide with the palms on the floor. So palms facing down, right leg across the body. Draw the toes of the right foot strongly towards the shin bone. Hug the inner thighs towards one another and draw the right sit bone towards the left heel. And now we're working the gallbladder line along the outside of the right hip. Yeah, so hug the right hip in and down towards left heel. And feel the outer edge of right hip. Nice stretch here along gallbladder channel. We'll add a little bit of movement to strengthen the gallbladder line as we'll be stretching it through some long Calbian poses soon. So first we'll gather some durability and resiliency in that channel by way of inhaling and reaching the right leg up towards the sky. Bring it all the way up, just in front of the right hips, keeping the right leg bent or straightened. And then draw the hands behind the base of the skull, and the elbow tips pull towards the outer edge of the right knee. So a little side twist, abdominal work, lifting left heel off the ground perhaps. And then inhale and draw the left heel down. Draw the base of skull to the ground, tee out the arms and come back into the twist. And 3 more times. Inhale, lift. And exhale, take your crunch. Draw the elbows to the outer edge of that right knee, maybe lifting left heel. Roll the thigh bones in and draw the navel towards the spine. Inhale, lower left heel, lower the head, tee out the arms, and come back into the twist. Again, inhaling, right leg lifts. And exhaling, twisting over, crunching outside of the gallbladder channel on the right side. Inhale, drop down. And exhale, twist. Right heel across. And twice more. Inhaling, lifting. Exhale, twist. Inhale, draw left heel down. And exhale, tee the arms out, slide the right thigh bone across the left leg for your supine twist. One more time on your own. Beautiful. And that last exhalation will meet in the twist with the right leg straight, pressing through the heel, sliding the right sit bone towards the left heel. Beautiful. We'll keep that right gallbladder channel engaged along piriformis and the QL muscles at the sides of the rib cage. And you'll inhale and you'll lift the right heel off the ground just slightly. And then you'll exhale and you'll lower it. So little pulses here, strongly hugging the right hip in. Inhale, lifting just to the height of the hips. Just about a foot or so off the ground. And then exhale and lower. And we'll do that 3 more times, so a total of 5 rounds. Really slow here with the in and the out breath. Beautiful. And you'll rest at the bottom of that 5th exhalation. And you'll roll back onto the sacrum, finding Supta Baddha Konasana once again. Both legs externally rotate as the soles of the feet come together. Finding that low curvature in the lumbar sacral region of the spine as hands come to belly and rest. Other side, keeping right leg in that Supta Baddha Konasana flexion as you take Ardha Ananda Balasana on the left side, half happy baby. Slide the left thigh bone down along the outer edge of the rib cage and find a grip of left hand to left foot that supports the depression of the femur head down and also allows you to blossom open like a lotus flower at the sole of left foot. And because liver health is so highly informed by what's happening with the eyes, I want you to practice as much as you can this evening with the eyes closed. Just giving some medicine to those visual utilities of the prefrontal cortex, the front of the brain, especially with all of the screen time we have now. Healthy liver function by way of resting the eyes, and for a moment to actually influence the healthy governance of chi in the liver. You can keep the eyes closed and very soft. Draw the eyeballs towards the base of the skull so that the little muscles in the face don't have to hold so tight to the orbital bone. And then from the very back of the eyeball, just draw 3 infinity signs from left to right and left to right, just circling the chi in the house of the liver door, left and right eyes. And then when you exhale, you can send that infusion of chi down the liver line, down the throat, through liver, gallbladder, and all the way down the base of the big toe, so it gets a nice flush. And then you'll straighten the right leg and you'll place the right hand on the top of right thigh bone. Staying here or lengthening the left leg and finding an external rotation as you tee it out wide. Yeah, finding like a nice half splits almost, a half straddle in the left leg as you rotate the outer edge of left thigh down. And you press through the heel. Inhale. And exhale, begin to find your supine twist, keeping that left leg straight, drawing it across the low navel, keeping the hips hugged in here and the low belly contracted to protect low spine as you draw the pelvis over towards the right. Rib cage spins open and you tee the palms out. So shoulder, elbow, wrist in line, and you find soft and spread fingers. Three breaths in your supine twist before we move into the movement of strengthening the gallbladder along the piriformis and the outer hip region of that left leg. Pressing through the left heel, also staying wide and alive along the arch of the foot. And inhale, draw the left toes up to the sky. Draw the fingers behind the base of the skull, and then the elbow points will draw together and then towards the outer edge of the left knee, maybe lifting that right heel off the ground. Drawing the frontal hip points towards one another, and the pelvic floor lifts up, 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 like the diaphragm that it is. It's a muscle that lifts. Inhale, right heel down. Draw the base of the skull down, and then exhale, tee out the palms and twist open. Let's move like that. Inhale, left toes lift. Exhale, pull in, twist over, maybe lift the right heel. Inhale, right heel drops, base of skull, it drops. And then tee the palms out and exhale, twist. Good, that's 2. We'll take 3 more rounds. So again, a total of 5 on your own. Moving slowly here, the muscular contraction along the outer hips and the low belly is of interest. Our primary objective is to follow the length of the breath as we skillfully recruit particular regions of the musculature that will highlight the flow of chi through liver gallbladder lines. Upgrading the vitality of those detoxification organs. Okay, so we'll meet in that twist as you slide the left hip on top of the right and roll the sternum bone up and over towards the left fingers. You'll keep the head neutral though, so base of skull on the ground, the chin and the forehead stay level. So just make sure you're not tilting the kind of occipital region at the base of the skull. And then inhale, keep that left foot alive and lift it just to the height of the hip. And then long, slow, deep exhale, drop it down. Roll both thigh bones towards one another. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Twice more, total of 5. Again, skillfully recruiting the outer glute, the piriformis, but slowing down the movement to match the duration of each breath. And then the exhale will draw you all the way back once you've completed the 5. And finding full happy baby. Beautiful. Three breaths, and we'll use that intermingling of yin and yang chi. Inhaling heart to the mula. And pausing, hovering attention at the root as you reach the top of the inhale and hold. And then exhaling and letting this flood of chi infusion from the pelvic floor flushes liver, gallbladder, and finds its way at the exhale to the heart, where you pause at empty and you soften. Twice more like that, inhaling heart to mula. And exhaling, reversing that yin-yang pattern of breath to really balance the winds of the inner body. Using breath retention as well through one more cycle of that breathing pattern. Because it's in the pauses between the in and out breath, that's where the pranic body becomes most active, most potent, most vital and alive. So the changes are more significant and impactful then. You'll draw the knees to the chest, and then you'll rock and roll and come all the way through. We'll meet in a wide-kneed child's pose. So if you have any knee or ankle sensitivities, I find it's really nice to roll a blanket or some soft bolstering underneath the joints or the vulnerable tissues. So just utilize the support of your own practice to know when some extra padding is fruitful. And I'll speak now towards the liver, the functionality of the organ we're focusing on. And it sits, of course, above the stomach on the right side, the liver under the diaphragm. And it opens up into the gallbladder. So the gallbladder houses the bile that's produced by liver. The enzymes produced by the pancreas, of course, break down water-soluble elements. The bile from the liver breaks down more condensed elements like fats. Which is an essential function. And the ancients had such respect for this organ that they called it a verb, to live. So liver is, together with gallbladder, from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, responsible for the filtering, the detoxifying, the nourishing, the replenishing of blood. So it regulates the amount of blood that's circulating through the system. And it withdraws and stores it when we're resting. So it has, during rest, the ability to replenish and detoxify fatty and toxic aspects from the blood when it's in the liver. And when we're in more yang-centric modalities like exercise or heightened stimulated work, the liver will release the blood into the system where it's needed. So if we're not utilizing ample resting space, yin time, then the blood has lessened opportunity to be cleansed and re-endorsed with more helpful nutrients. And in that way, the livers and kidneys work well with one another. The kidneys feed into healthy, smooth liver chi. So 3 more breaths, just as you are. And then you'll press into the palms of the hands, taking weight off of the low body. And draw the shoulders forward and just slide the knees together so that the knees come to touch. And then draw the hips back to the heels one more time. Just a softened child's pose with the knees together. And then coming into a sphinx. So as I said, the kidneys feed the liver. So we'll integrate a back bend into this practice because it nourishes the kidney line, which draws up through pelvic floor and sacrum along either side of the spine. So we're compressing that region at the low spine where the kidneys tend to get congested. Yeah. Beautiful. So liver is being fed now by healthy kidney chi. And I'll invite you again to keep your eyes closed. The liver, because it is the detox center for a lot of substances we take in from the air and from our food, also drugs and alcohol. When overworked by way of excessive fats in our food, or toxic aspects in the air, or other vices, particularly alcohol, a dysfunctional liver cell will turn into fatty tissue or into scar tissue, and that's the very risky disease of cirrhosis, where the ability to detoxify is hindered. But there's also an emotional imbalance that occurs with unhealthy liver. And because liver is the organ that holds the emotion of anger, and most notably frustration, agitation, when unpracticed in skillfully attending to emotions, agitation, irritation, frustration becomes an emotion that a non-awakened being can't easily contain and creates a lot of suffering for the self and for those around you. So the willingness then to work with anger, to investigate the intensity of this flaming emotional body without being overwhelmed by it, without being consumed by it. So naturally, when we work the liver channel, a lot of agitation may occur as we're flushing that meridian. And this is actually the perfect opportunity to train our capacity to observe, right? A formal discipline practice to work with agitation in these long held poses. Because when you're off the mat and anger arises in a real world circumstance, it's often too late, too late to decondition your reactivity in the heat of the moment. So we use yin time. For those of you that want to deepen this back bend in seal pose, you can straighten the arm bones and press down and forward with the wrists. And know that the farther the hands are away from the frontal rib cage, the less intense of a bend you'll get. But I'd like everybody to keep the inner thighs drawing in softly, the pelvic floor lifting to the navel, and the navel, or more specifically, the soft tissue just behind the navel center draws in towards the spine and up towards the heart. 5 more breaths. Using this pose to let percolate or sift through difficult emotions. So we're hosting anger, irritation, agitation, training up the ability to skillfully attend to aggression without being drunk on it. Yeah? And when you've completed your rounds of breath, you'll draw the head down and come into full pranam with the arms out in front of you, full prostration, just rest. Let the kidneys on the low back body drape and spread. And we'll work the gallbladder line now as we've just thoroughly investigated liver channel. We'll move into an external hip rotation for the right side of the channel. So we'll be stretching the right hip and glute. And the options here are pigeon pose or a supine figure 4. So for those of you taking pigeon, it'll be the right leg forward, and the left leg behind you. And some of you will choose to bring some padding underneath the right hip, and maybe even underneath the head of that left thigh bone. So you can see my padding here. This is quite nice suggestion for those of you that need a little bit more stability through the more vulnerable regions of low spine and hip socket. And then if you're in pigeon pose, you might fold forward over that bent right knee. Of course, those of you who have knee sensitivities and would like a more gentle gallbladder line stretch, the option is supine figure 4. So the right ankle on top of left knee, eye of the needle with the right hand in between the legs, binding for the top of the left shin. So I'm just now giving you ample opportunity to investigate aggression through a deep hip stretch. So again, flushing the gallbladder channel, which runs along the outer hip, and it's housed in the connective tissue. That's the deep matrix of fascia, the intercellular matrix of that deep muscle tissue. Which is only accessed once you penetrate the more superficial, shallow muscles of the top layer of the musculature and work your way into a deep stretch. Scientifically found now to really be highlighted as most accessible at a minimum of 3 minutes to reach the fascia, particularly in the thicker regions of the musculature like the glutes. This is the way that we flush gallbladder liver chi. And we'll find 3 more breaths here. And inhaling, pressing into the palms, lifting the torso. Draw the weight to the outside of the right hip. And you're going to swing the back leg underneath the right leg. So if you're in supine figure 4, you'll just take this pose, cow facing pose. I put this into the sequence for Lisa. If you're in the supine figure 4, you'll take this pose on your back with the right knee on top of the left. So everyone's right knee on top. So we keep that stretch of focus in the outer right hip. And those of you on your back, you might grab for the outer edges of the feet. Some of you choosing to sit up on padding to elevate the sit bones. And then folding forward to your own degree. And we'll practice an inner method here again to cleanse the eye door of wood element and flush out any toxicity of agitation, overwhelm in the liver. So eyes are closed. And when you inhale, you'll take 3 infinity signs from the back of the eyeball. So just kind of swirling the infusion of chi in the eye doors. And when you exhale, you send that flush of prana into the liver directly. Just twice more like that. And then you'll release that inner method and use an inhale to draw the fingertips back up. Yeah. Sole of the right foot plants on the ground outside of the left knee. And you'll hug your left hand to the right knee and pull in. We'll move into axial rotation here, a seated twist. So right hand comes behind the sacrum and we peel the collarbones wide as the gaze spins out over that cliff of the right shoulder head. And some people like to practice this twist by way of cactus elbows with the left hand. So elbow comes to the outside of that right knee. And that can be interesting to deepen the twist in thoracic spine and the upper back. But because we're highlighting gallbladder channel here, that hug in of right knee will increase the intensity of the stretch along that right glute. And we're here for just 3 more breaths. And then come on back through a neutral spine. And we'll move into an interesting option for a climax pose. Some of you might choose to take this more yang-centric shape. So first, keep the right knee as it is and lengthen the left leg long. And the first shape will be just to draw the right knee to the left. So you're in Ardha Gomukhasana, half cow pose. And some of you might even take a breath or 2 in a forward flexion here. That's step 1. Stay here, or you can lift torso, plant the sole of the right foot on the ground, and take a counter twist over towards the left. So I'm twisting to the left, and the right foot is outside of the left knee. Yeah? You can stay here in the counter pose, or you can draw left hand to the outside of the left hip and take the peace fingers of the right hand, bring them to the big toe. And coming in to version of Kundanyasana, some of you might just stay as you are, or some of you might actually bend in to that left elbow, keep the big toes hugged by the peace fingers, and lift the left hip, coming into Kundanyasana. Left hip lifts, left thigh bone off the ground. 3, 2, and 1. Nice. And then inhale, come all the way back. The left leg's on top, so we'll just slide into half pigeon on the other side, or finding supine figure 4, left leg in front. So another aspect of wood element is the suppleness of the emotional body. In other words, how flexible we are with extenuating circumstance. As we again and again expose ourselves to, in Sanskrit what's called anicca, the truth of change, the impermanent nature of all things that are born and die within a cycle of time. We have the opportunity to practice a flexible, malleable approach to what happens when things change, as they do. So just contemplating an inner inquiry in the last few moments of this shape. How have I been navigating this dire change in my daily life? And what is my baseline approach to addressing this loss, this shift? What is the inner attitude that I lean towards when my preferences aren't met? And the things which brought me stability have demonstrated their vulnerability to the subject of change. When things fall apart, do I have access to the unshifting, never changing state? That's your Buddha nature, breathing into that. One inhale here. Holding at the top of the in-breath, gathering, collecting that vibrant potency of the chi winds, and exhaling completely. Beautiful. We'll come into Gomukhasana, cow-facing pose. For those of you that want to come upright, it will be the right leg that comes underneath the left. And those of you on your back, you'll take this cow-facing pose with the left knee stacked on top of the right. So everyone left on top of right here. And it's helpful to lift the pelvis and then shift it over just a nudge to the right, so that you can stay within integrity when you ground the left thigh bone down. And I find that if you're ever feeling erratic in your energy field and scattered, this pose helps to integrate to midline. Now the liver lines are coming together, and we're also working the gallbladder line. So no better shape to integrate both the yin and yang of the wood than Gomukhasana. And then the hands can create a full body circuit with the palms of the hands coming to the sole of the feet. And this is a really pacifying asana. It's almost like you're reinforcing that egg shape of the strength of your aura around you. But some of you may choose to heighten the intensity of gallbladder meridian tensile stretch through forward flexion. Are you approaching this practice? And are you approaching the practice of your daily life with a hint of malleability, flexibility? The healthy branch is one that's reinforced by the ability to bend in the midst of winds of change, but not break. So when we're rigid, we're actually more brittle. Three more breaths. And the inhales, they always come and they'll lift you out of the pose. So if you were struggling in the shape, here's an excellent opportunity, an exquisite way to practice impermanence when we come back up. Coming into our twist. Left foot stamps on the outside of right knee, and we hug that left knee in as we find our seated twist. Coming through center on an in-breath. And straightening the right leg on an exhale. Some of you are choosing to stay in this forward flexion with half Gomukhasana leg, so left knee on top of right as you fold in. And then it's a choose your own adventure. Some of you might choose to find the counter twist as you place the right hand behind the sacrum, but you spin over towards the right as well. So you're spinning over towards the straightened leg, the right side. And I want you to roll the right thigh in and hug the femur head of the right hip socket back. Yeah. Now that's going to turn on the low back. So you'll keep the core engaged here. And then some of you will bring the right hand to the outside edge of the right hip rather than towards the back body. And peace fingers come to the right toes. Yes. Beautiful, Naomi. Staying here or endeavoring to depress the right humerus down, coming into flexion of that right elbow, bending here, and lengthening the inner line, the liver line on right side. Stay here or lift the heel and maybe even lift the whole hip of the right leg off the ground. A version of Kundanyasana for 3, 2. Nice, Lisa. 1. Drop the right hip down and come all the way out. And we'll end in a symmetrical pose, a wide-legged straddle. Finding forward flexion, tilting the pelvis forward as you rest. And just as we began, we'll always return to the investigation of the immediacy of this moment by way of the vehicle of the breath, the vehicle that moves prana. It's the inner methodology of the breathing body that gives life to the shapes. So we'll inhale from the heart, down through hara, low belly to the mula. And you'll hold at the top of the inhale as you gather a rich vibrancy of chi in the pelvic floor, and the whole bowl of the pelvis fills like the bathtub of chi. And then you'll exhale and you'll drain the tub of chi, but the breath will reach up back to the heart. And you pause at empty because the heart really is enlivened by emptiness. So clearing out at the bottom of the exhale, holding at empty before you inhale again and send the breath down to mula. exhaling and drawing from the perineum up to the sternum. One more time like that. The in-breath draws chi down. And from that collected stillness, it's like the most potent drop of the chi elixir in the pelvic floor. You send just that back up the royal road of Sushumna, the central channel. The exhale draws it back to the heart. Pause at the bottom of the exhale and find the courage to sit with emptiness, uncertainty. And then inhale and draw the torso upright. Spread each limb long on the mat. And find your Shavasana. Just a few moments, a few brief moments to alleviate any and all tension from the tissues. And coming out in your own time.